I definitely looked at a lot of the reviews. It's because I was seeing if this was going to be the right hospital for me, especially being a first-time mom and being away from all my family and everything like that. But they had so many programming, especially like lactation specialists, and every time I called, they were always just very informative about everything that was going to happen, and they just were always just great. And I knew as soon as I called, because I called before we even got stationed up here to get an appointment, and they were always just very good, and it was great. There's always those certain things that you have to worry about when you go into labor, and you come in here and you just meet random people. Like, you don't know these staff, and you don't know what they're going through during the day, and you just worry that you come in and because you're already embarrassed, it's just inevitable, but they just came in and they just made you feel like you're not doing anything wrong. Like, they just made you feel like, I'm sorry, it's like hard to explain. They were just very attentive, and they just took very good care of me. And that's what I worried about the most, because like, there's nothing worse than being in pain, and especially when you're the kind of person that you don't like asking for help, and they just give you help anyway. They give you help without you asking before, because they already know. And they're just really good at their jobs, and they just took really good care of me. Especially when I was I had 17 hours of labor before I got put into a C-section, and there was an incident that kind of scared everybody, and they just took it very professionally and kept me calm, and my husband did as well. He was very supportive, and they just were very, very professional, and bedside manner was amazing. They did tell me I had a lactation specialist talk to me when I had my appointments here, and asking if I wanted to breastfeed and everything, and I was always very big on it. I always wanted to. I was going to do everything in my power to breastfeed unless I just physically could not. And they were very helpful here. They came in every day, and the nurses were also they'd come in and physically help me breastfeed, because it is hard. It's probably the hardest job I've ever done.
It's definitely not easy watching them struggle to figure it out. I mean, it's definitely a process. She is brand new, and you think about 16-year-olds learning to drive. They have motor skills, they have skills, they can do things, but it's still quite a task teaching them to drive. Well, she has no motor skills and no skills whatsoever, and she's trying to figure out such an impossible task. And it can be very discouraging to new moms, I think, because I feel like that's one of those things where that's something that only they can provide. So if they can't, what's going to happen to my baby? And
it can be that is very stressful, and it can also be very hard on yourself, because you don't produce milk right away, and you produce colostrum, which is like liquid gold, but you don't produce a lot of it. And so sometimes they'll feed for an hour and a half, and you think that they're not getting enough. So in the back of your mind, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to feed my baby. What am I doing wrong? What can I do to fix it? And the nurses are just very helpful, and sometimes they don't latch on, which she was having a very hard time latching on, but I'm slowly still starting to get the hang of it. And she is too. And the nurses just, every time I asked for help, they came in, never complained, never said that, never indicated that it was inconvenient for them to come in and physically help me. And they just helped a lot. I learned a lot while I was in here. If it was only for 48 hours.
I think as a father or a support system, you just need to be there to, reassure that, hey, this is totally normal, and there's 7 billion people here right now, and everybody figured it out eventually, and everything's going to be all right. And, we had the lactation specialist come in, and she knew all kinds of tricks of the trade, and she was able to get her really squared away really fast, so that was a super big help.
I would not hesitate to come back. And for my second pregnancy, I wouldn't, like, even if I moved, if I had to come back for 9 months, I would, just to have her in here, because the staff was just amazing. They just made you feel like part of the family, and especially when you got down on yourself.